Thank you for joining us. I am Dakpo Adigboye. Our coverage tonight begins with the latest on the helicopter that crashed off the coast of Bonny in Rivers State. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has confirmed the recovery of the black box containing both the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder from the Sikorsky SK-76 helicopter that crashed near Boli Finima off the coast of Calabar on October 24th. The helicopter, operated by East Wind Aviation and contracted by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, was carrying 6 passengers and 2 crew members. 3 bodies have been recovered from the crash site. NSIB spokesperson Bimbo Oladeji stated Friday that the black box was retrieved with support from NNPC, NIMASA, the Nigerian Navy, and Hydrodrive. The device is now secured for analysis, which is crucial for understanding the crash sequence and informing safety measures. Now, efforts continue to locate the missing individuals. Let's also move away from that, where we understand that the Nigeria Labour Congress has thrown its weight behind threat by the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, to embark on a nationwide strike over the alleged use of military personnel to eject workers from the Oritamei oil rig. Now, a statement signed by the NNPC, that's the NLC president, Joe Ajero, on Friday, condemned the allegation against the military by the oil workers, adding that it stands solidly behind NUPENG. NLC threatened to escalate its response to the dispute should a breach of agreement and the use of military and other security agencies to interfere in industrial relation matters continue. Ajero's reaction comes following a lingering industrial dispute between the owners of the oil rig and NUPENG over an alleged breach of agreement freely entered into by the 2 parties. However, on Thursday morning, a special naval personnel team was allegedly flown into the Orisemi oil rig to eject the workers. Let's also tell you that, give you updates on detained minors of the End Bad Governance protest. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, has clarified that Nigerian law does not prohibit prosecuting minors, countering recent criticism over the arraignment of young protesters on treason charges. Speaking in Abuja, Fagbemi explained that despite suggestions that minors should appear in family courts, only the Federal High Court holds jurisdiction in treason cases. He emphasized the gravity of the charges justified the arraignment. However, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu chose to pardon the young defendants, citing compassion and familiar empathy. Still on protest, the End Bad Governance movement has held a powerful rally in Lagos calling for the release of protesters who have been detained on trial since the nationwide demonstration in Abuja. This rally is the latest show of dissent against government's handling of the economy and its treatment of citizens. News Central's Igbalani Omoni captured the energy and determination of the protesters in this report.
Despite the arrest and trial of previous demonstrators, protesters gathered at the Keja Underbridge in the Central Business District of Lagos, demanding the release of fellow End Bad Governance activists still facing trial.
The same children that were released quickly had an ashwebi on them. As if the government was really prepared for the drama the government was acting. It's an aberration. Now, some of our comrades today, Lenin and Co, Adelamoye, are currently on trial today at the Federal High Court in Abuja. And we're saying that the government should extend that same amnesty granted to others, to the same people.
What we are here today to say is that no one deserves a death sentence for peacefully protest.
The movement states that it remains unwavering in its call for improved governance and economic reform. Tensions briefly rose as a large contingent of security officers arrived at the scene. However, rather than engaging with protesters, they drove past the demonstration. The rally, organized by the End Bad Governance movement, saw participants marching through the streets, chanting slogans and singing struggle songs. Undeterred, the crowd pressed on to the office of the Chief Judge in GRA Ikeja, where they submitted a petition outlining their demands.
That petition is to the Chief Judge of the State. But we know that it's not a Lagos matter. But we are hoping and we are praying to my Lord that my Lord will ensure that this petition is escalated to the Chief Justice of Nigeria for immediate action. And that the Chief Justice of Nigeria will also put us together with the right people, whether the NBA, whether the Attorney General of the Federation, to say enough is enough to this sham trial. Let our people go.
I have been directed to receive this petition on their behalf. I've listened to your complaint, and I believe all the complaints are contained in this petition. So I've received it now on their behalf, and I'm going to deliver it to the appropriate office.
Protesters also voiced concerns over the worsening economic hardships, a major driving force behind the End Bad Governance movement.
A lot of issues are on ground. Petrol have increased. Gas has increased. We cannot cook again for our children in the house. We are hungry.
They go silence us. They go put fear for our body. They go kill us. They go threaten us so that other people no go do it. They no go want come outside.
That is why we are daring the state. You can see police everywhere. We want to be arrested. Let them charge us for treasonable felony. We are ready.
In their love, innocence. Free them now.
It remains to be seen how the government will respond to these demands.
You are ready to be arrested.
I am available to be arrested.
In Lagos 4 News Central, I am Igbalani Omoni.
Residents of Ruga, a suburb along the airport road in Abuja, have protested against the demolition of their homes by the FCT administration. This is coming days after the FCTA task force known as Operation Sweep destroyed homes belonging to the residents of Ruga in a bid to clear the area following directives from the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Now, News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu tells us more.
This is what is left of the Ruga village located in a suburb of the FCT, opposite the Abuja City Gate. From gunshot injuries to displacement of residents, the horrible memories of this demolition operation will linger long in the memories of the affected residents. The demonstration was led by prominent lawyer and activist Deji Adeyanju alongside Vincent Martins Otte, popularly known as Very Dark Man.
Maybe because of one of your friends or one of all these people that have given you money, maybe. Because it's always like that at the end of the day. So Nelson, we can think about all these people and even think about all these children before you continue this act.
More than 15,000 residents of the FCT in this location alone. You can see here children who their parents are directly affected. You can also see that there is a victim. One of the victims was shot.
Abdullah Mohammed is one of the victims. He didn't just lose his home, he received gunshot wound on the unfaithful day during the demolition operation.
Sun zo jiya za su rusau. Yawwa sun zo suna da yawa mun fara ciccire irin dakunan mu. To sai na samu dan sandan su guda ɗaya na tambaye shi da Allah akwai national ID card na boye shi a cikin silin. Zan je in dauko ba matsala sai ya ce mun ba matsala. Sai na tafi da gudu sai na shiga cikin gidana. Sai na saka hannuna a cikin silin. Ina duba national ID card din na yaga kwalima. Sai ga wani dan sanda ya shigo da bindiga a hannunsa. Sai ce in fita. Sai na ce na yi magana da abokin aikin ku da Allah ina so zai dan cira national ID card ne tunda na ga konawa kuke. In rushewa ake zan iya in an rushe zan cire. To kawai sai ya ce wai in fita daga cikin gurin sai na juya ina juyawa kafata ina daga kafata haka na juya kawai ya harbe ni pap dan sandan a kafa.
Activist Adeyanju called on President Bola Tinubu to intervene on the matter and consider the plight of those displaced by the operation.
We are appealing to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces that Mr. President, you must do something about this, that these people are harassed frequently by members of the FCTA administration, that we are sending a note of warning to people in government and the ruling elite that the only way they sleep and the ruling elite can sleep is if poor people are allowed to sleep. That when poor people are not allowed to sleep, that the rich in the society will not be able to sleep.
Many of the residents here were initially forced out of their homes by insecurity in Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, Katsina, and several other states in the north. However, the so-called they thought they would have gotten in the federal capital is now a failed dream. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
We now head to the oil sector, where we understand that oil marketers in Nigeria are refuting claims of importing substandard petrol, asserting that all imported premium motor spirit is certified by the Standards Organization of Nigeria and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Their response follows concerns raised by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery, which cautioned that some dealers might be importing off-spec products and warned against using deregulation as a pretext for substandard imports. Industry stakeholder, that's Robert Dickerman, confirmed that the independent inspectors alongside SON and NMDPRA routinely verify imports to maintain quality standards. Dickerman also highlighted a 13-year agreement with Dangote Refinery for the distribution of products. SON official reiterated the agency's commitment to quality assurance, noting that imports are tested in SON laboratories to prevent off-spec products from reaching the market. To discuss this, we are joined by Temitope Kolade, a senior manager and lead ESG and climate change services at Anderson. Thank you for your time, Temitope. Now, straight to it. Can you just, of course, bring us up to speed as regards this development and this strong allegation where, of course, concerns have been raised by the Dangote Refinery and subsequent clarification by SON and also a sister agency impacting fuel prices on the market. What is your take?
The issue of quality standards is something that has always been in the remit of the SON as it pertains to things around petroleum products, refined products in particular. We expect the NMDPRA to take its role and ensure that it does its work very well in that regard. So unfortunately, in recent times, it appears that the NMDPRA has not been pulling its weight, especially when you think about even the pricing issues. And it goes back to when we had, for instance, subsidy is gone. At the very next moment, NNPCL adjusts the price and NMDPRA comes later and says, oh, it's just fine, right? So it's almost nice to hear from people to then begin to put allegations of this sort of indictment to feel that they're not doing their work. But I don't also think that we should take the words of those who are bringing those allegations for it, because otherwise we would have had several engines knocked in Nigeria altogether in the recent past. I want to feel very strongly that the NMDPRA is still a very formidable organization. The SON is also doing its work. But of course, it's important at this point to begin to evaluate how much that work is being done because of these allegations that have sprung up. Apparently, maybe for some self-interest purposes from whoever is bringing those allegations, but it's important to have a review and be sure that indeed there are no breaches as to the quality of the refined products that we have in the market.
I mean, talking about self-interest purposes, you said that even the allegations themselves should be thoroughly scrutinized, particularly the objective of these allegations, and knowing fully well that the player, putting it forward is also a key competitor in the business. But do you think that this would sort of impact consumer confidence?
Well, where has consumer confidence being all this while, as a matter of fact, I guess the issue really about consumers is whether the consumers indeed have alternatives. I think to a very large extent, consumers like yourself and myself are depending largely on the regulators to ensure that they do, to see that they do their work. Otherwise, there are really very few alternatives, if there are at all, for us as consumers. And so whether our confidence is raised or diminished, there is very little that we can do about it, except that we want to directly import our petroleum products by ourselves, which is not permitted as well.
All right, now let's talk about local refineries here in the country, because this is also part of the conversation that maybe if there were sufficient local refineries, state-owned, this could impact on price, and to a large extent, you know, the conversations around quality. Do you see, what's your take on the issue of local refineries not, you know, springing up as Nigerians would expect?
Yeah, I mean, this is a long time coming, right? So we have the petroleum crude in Nigeria, and so expectedly we should be refining, and we should be refining a lot. But that doesn't happen, and now we have Dangote refinery, we have the modular refineries, we have the promise that Port Harcourt will do better, Kaduna refinery will begin to do better, and all of those. And so, yeah, that's good for the economy of Nigeria. But in terms of quality standards, the fact that we have local refineries doesn't also mean that SON will not do its checks, or NMDPRA will not do its checks to certify the quality of the refined products coming from those refineries, even though they are local. So the work of the regulators remains cut out for them to ensure that wherever it's coming into the market from, whether it's local or imported, they do the right checks. I remember again that just at the moment that Dangote came on board, there were concerns that the NMDPRA raised to say that, oh, maybe the quality is not also what was expected, and Dangote began to say to us that it's Euro 5, it's just there are no additives and all of those. So really, I think it's about transparency from each of the regulators and the stakeholders coming to us that, see, it's not about the pricing, it's about us doing what we ought to really do, and we've got to be able to take their words for it from a point of just being transparent and doing their work, not because of some other gains or some underlying reasons that we have in there.
All right, Temitope Kolade, Senior Manager and Lead ESG and Climate Change Services at Anderson. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right, great. Now, let's stay with the oil sector, where the coalition of civil society groups has condemned the calls for the sack of the group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited by several aggrieved groups in the country. The coalition, at a solidarity gathering in front of the NNPCL's headquarters in Abuja, says that persons making the calls are unpatriotic and do not have the interest of the nation at heart.
It's our responsibility as Nigerians to support our country, to support the economy of this country. So for those that are calling for the sack of Melechari, are not people that have Nigerians at heart, because the way it is now, we want to call the attention of Melechari to do more. We want him to do more, but calling for his sack, I don't think is necessary. There's no need for you to call for Melechari.
If you have just joined us, you're watching tonight, a reminder of our top stories. Flight data recorder of helicopter that crashed off the coast of Benin in Rivers State has been recovered. NLC backs NUPENG's nationwide strike threat over military's interference in oil rig dispute. Political parties in Ondo State signed peace accord ahead of next week's Guba polls. Duma Boko sworn in as Botswana's president after historic win. Now to security matters, where Katsina State Police Command reported that security operatives successfully foiled multiple bandits attacks in Jabia local government area, rescuing 21 victims late Thursday night. In the intense gun battle, one Community Watch Corps member and a vigilante lost their lives. Police spokesperson ASP Abubakar Sadiq stated Friday that bandits launched coordinated assaults at Ikaida Uguwa, One Boy and Danmarke in Jabia Township. A swift joint response from police, the military, and community watch teams led to a gun battle lasting over an hour, ultimately forcing the bandits to flee. 16 victims were rescued and 5 persons injured were taken to the hospital. The Commissioner of Police, Aliyu Musa, reaffirmed commitment to public safety, urging vigilance and reporting of suspicious activities. A special independent investigative panel on human rights violations in counterinsurgency operations in Nigeria's northeast region, set up by the National Human Rights Commission in Abuja, has found the Nigerian military culpable of acts of infanticide and killing of community members in Abisare village in Borno State on June the 16th, 2016. Now, the 7-man panel, chaired by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Abdu Aboki, which investigated allegations of human rights violations in the Northeast, including allegations of international news agency Reuters claiming that the military had engaged in over 10,000 forced abortions in the region. However, absolved the military of the allegations, describing them as false and untrue. It also absolved the military of the massacre of children in Kukawa and many other communities in New Marte local government area of Borno State.
The panel did not find the military culpable, and listen very carefully, did not find the military culpable for the massacre of children in Kukawa, in Gasarwa, in Alagarno, and in many parts of New Marte. But the panel found the military culpable of infanticide and the killing of community members in a village of Abisare in Marte local government area of Borno State. On the 16th of June,
moving to election matters now, political parties and candidates in Ondo State have signed a peace accord ahead of the November 16th governorship election. The signing, which took place on Friday at the International Culture and Event Center in Akure, the state capital, was organized by the National Peace Committee headed by former head of state Abdul Salam Abubakar. Some of the parties present at the signing of the peace accord include the All Progressives Congress, the People's Democratic Party, the Labour Party, Action Democratic Party, and Zenith Labour Party, amongst others. Speaking at the event, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmoud Yakubu, urged the candidates and their parties to commit to a peaceful election.
Of the Nigerian Peace Committee that Ondo State elections will be free, fair, credible, and peaceful. And every one of us to ensure that we maintain the peace in the country. Because if there is no peace, there is no country.
The National Peace Committee accepted our request to devolve the signing of the peace accord beyond the presidential election to include off-cycle governorship elections in view of the tension and sometimes violence associated with these elections in the past.
Ondo State has been a peaceful state. In fact, even during this campaign, it's been peaceful. And you don't enjoy this in most states when election is almost about a week to the D-Day. But today we are enjoying relative peace.
Well, joining me to discuss this is lawyer and public affairs analyst Taiwo Ojumo. Taiwo, thank you for your time on the news. Now, thank
you for having me.
Great. Let me start by asking, what do you make of the peace accord signed in Ondo State ahead of the global polls?
Yeah, well, thank you. I think it has become a tradition in Nigerian polity that peace accords are usually signed shortly before election. And of course, the essence of such an accord, or the essence of such peace accord, is to ensure that parties commit themselves to ensuring or to be intentional and deliberate about making sure that the electoral process is peaceful as possible, and that there are no instances of violence, and that they should ensure that they talk to their followers and teaming fans to sue for peace. But beyond that, we have seen instances in Nigeria where, despite the signing of peace accords by parties, we still see instances of violence in some states and in some elections. But we sincerely hope that will not be the lot in Ondo State, or on those, like the governors did say earlier, Ondo State is relatively a very peaceful state, and so I do not foresee any form of violence, any form of electoral violence. I think it's going to be a peaceful election, all things considered.
Now, INEC has assured that it would improve on some of its gaps in the Edo election, and even, said that it's pretty much confident in terms of the security arrangements and all. Now, what do you make of this in terms of this not being the first time we've had INEC say, you know what, we'll get better, but at the end of the day, we always get back to the conversation of as regards the process itself. So what do you make of this assertion again by INEC?
Yes, thank you. I think I've said it here before, and I will say it for the opt-in time. INEC is always ready. I think their default response is we are ready. INEC will never tell you they are not ready, and until the election comes, and they'll begin to see glitches and all manner of irregularities manifesting. But then I've also said this severally, that I'm pro INEC. I sincerely want INEC to work. I want INEC to prove electorate wrong. I want INEC to prove Nigerians wrong, that they can get it right this time around. Like the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud, did say when he arrived at Akure on Monday, he said that two major challenges that have been bedeviling elections in Nigeria have been identified, and that the commission has made significant improvements. I think he did identify two challenges. The first is the issue of logistics, getting electoral materials to polling units and wards in record time. And then also, he also spoke of result management, which one can also, which can manifest in form of collation and uploading of results. So he has assured, and let's hope that this time around, INEC is prepared for it. Like I said, I've said it severally, I'm pro INEC. I want INEC to work. I want a glitch-free election in this country. At the risk of trying to digress, or at the risk of trying to allude, just recently in the United States on the 5th of this month, just conducted a presidential election, and we saw how things work there. Now, it is not that we are saying that there's such a society where there's perfect election. Almost every society has. Elections will always come with some glitches, but then those glitches and irregularities should not be substantial enough to affect the overall result. So we are looking forward to an election in Nigeria, in those states on the 16th, that will be glitch-free. If there will be glitches at all, it should be as minimal as possible. So let's take INEC word for what it is.
All right. Thank you so much for your time on the news. Taiwo Jumo.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Great. Radiography is a very important arm of medical science that often do not get the credit it deserves, though their works are often key to effective diagnosis and treatment. It seems not many know who they are and what they do. Now, in this next report, News Central's Bernard Akede sheds more light on the people who enable doctors see beyond the surface.
Who is a radiographer?
Radiographer? Oh. Yeah, the guy that we speak on radio, like who interview on radio.
I don't know. So who is a radiographer?
A radio presenter.
CT scan,
MRI, ultrasound, and X-ray are some of the common radiography terms used by people almost on a daily basis. But after seeing this clip put together by a radiographer, it was both funny and disturbing to know that many people do not know who radiographers are or what they do.
Radiography pretty much is a profession where we use ionizing and non-ionizing radiation to acquire images of the internal part of the body. I mean, patients come in, want to see what's going on. When they see a doctor, they send them to the radiography units, want to know what's going on inside the body, pretty much like the eye of medicine.
The equipment used are usually large and could sometimes come off as scary. But perhaps if people knew their functions and not just their names, there will be better understanding.
This place is called a CT control room, and over there is the CT suite. Now, this is a modality that allows us to take images in cross-sectional slices. That's like taking the images as if it's like bread slices. So we're not taking it in 2D forms, we're taking it in 3D forms.
This machine, they are X-ray machines within this gantry. It's called a gantry. So it passes radiation through the patients. There's a detector under it that captures the images, and then it sends it to a machine outside, a computer. So the computer calculates the Hounsfield units and produces images of the internal structure of the patient's body.
Let's say something is wrong with you, maybe you fell or you are feeling chest pain and all those things. So the first thing the doctor will think of is X-ray. So when we are not saying something more complicated or something more serious than what's X-ray, because X-ray basically deals with anatomy, it does not deal with physiology. So when we need to check for physiology and every other thing, that's why we now go for the other modalities.
The risk most associated with radiography is the exposure of both doctor and patient to radiation. However, there are ways to limit the risk of exposure.
And most of us use what we call a dosimeter badge. In case you are running a special procedure, that dosimeter badge indicates the dose of radiation that is getting to you. And over a period, we read those dosimeters and be able to know the dose of radiation. And then that will determine whether we're going to ask you to stay off in the department for maybe 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months.
Like other arms of medicine, radiography is also bedeviled by factors like funding and the popular Japa syndrome.
One thing that is peculiar to radiographers is that once they are fully licensed in Nigeria, it is easier for them to practice, especially in the UK, Australia, and also some other parts of the country. You will need at least an X-ray before you could provide some basic services. X-ray in this current economy is not cheap.
The theme for this year's World Radiography Day is Radiographers Seeing the Unseen, emphasizing that many health issues may go undetected without radiographic imaging, which is why the radiographers are essential for effective medical care. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Welcome back. Now, Botswana had sworn in its new president, Duma Boko, marking a historic change in government after his landslide election victory ousted the party that had been in power for nearly 60 years. Boko, aged 54, took the oath in front of several thousand attendees at the National Stadium in the capital. Now, presidents from other Southern African nations, including Madagascar, Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, attended the ceremony. Boko's left-leaning umbrella for democratic change won 36 seats in parliament in the 30th October election, compared to just 4 seats for the Botswana Democratic Party.
I, Duma Gideon Boko, do swear that I will faithfully and diligently discharge my duties and perform my functions in the high office of the Republic of President of the Republic of Botswana. Embrace it. Be a part of it. Acknowledge the role that you played and continue to play in its unfolding. Stand hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder in this hour of great blessing. It is with a deep sense of appreciation that I stand before you today, the living embodiment of your deep and true resolve.
Let's now join our business desk for today's business news.
business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business, global food prices reached their highest level in 18 months in October, largely due to unfavorable weather conditions that raised production concerns for various commodities, suggesting that consumer costs may remain elevated. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization reported that its food commodity price index rose to the highest level since April 2023, increasing by 2%, driven primarily by a surge in vegetable oil prices. While this index tracks raw commodity costs rather than retail prices, the upward trend suggests sustained increases in food prices for consumers. Despite a decline from the record highs following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, tight supplies have contributed to rising food costs, with palm oil prices experiencing the most significant jump due to lower production concerns. ESCOM is progressing with plans to establish a new pumped storage scheme in the Lias Motsaledi local municipality, Limpopo, using a public-private partnership model. This initiative comes as renewable generation capacity is set to rise significantly, while coal-fired power stations are being decommissioned. ESCOM's medium-term system adequacy report warns that while capacity will increase, the availability of renewables poses challenges for supply and demand balance. The Tubetse project, which has a generation capacity of 1.5 gigawatt and storage capacity of 21 gigawatt per hour, was previously halted but is now part of South Africa's Just Energy Transition Plan. ESCOM recently secured a €6.5 million grant from Agents Français de Development to support this development. And finally, a small-scale fishing cooperative and environmental justice organizations have initiated legal action to prevent Total Energies from exploring oil and gas off the West Coast. Although Total Energies announced its withdrawal from 2 offshore projects in July, it plans to proceed with exploration in the deep-water Orange Basin, drilling up to 10 exploration wells. The Aukotoa Cooperative, alongside the Green Connection and Natural Justice, filed an application in the Western Cape High Court on October 31 against environmental approvals from the Department of Mineral Resources and the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. They argue that natural gas is carbon intensive and contradicts South Africa's net zero emissions goals, failing to consider the ecological and socioeconomic impacts on local fishers. That's a package on Business News at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasame Peter. The news continues shortly.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Nigeria National League sides Gombe United, Wiki Tourists and Dekada Football Club have all received transfer bans over their indebtedness to former players. The NLL informed the 3 clubs that they will not be allowed to register new players for the 2024-2025 season. According to the NLL, the move complies with the ruling of the Player Status and Arbitration Committee that all indebted clubs under the jurisdiction of the NNL must defray all their overdue before registration of new players can be affected. Twale Adjuya, Secretary of the Player Status and Arbitration Committee of the Nigeria Football Federation, reported that Dakada are indebted to Otene Johnson and 22 others the sum of 27,850,000 naira. Gombe United owes Yamalite Football Club 1,500,000 naira, while Wiki Tourists owe Abdullahi Abdul and Chukwude Stephen 2 million naira and 2.5 million naira each. Spain has called up Samuel Omorodion for their upcoming Nations League matches against Denmark and Switzerland. Omorodion's first senior call-up comes after his fantastic start to the season with Portuguese side Porto. The 20-year-old, who played for Spain at the Olympics, joined Porto in the close season and has since scored 11 goals in the Portuguese League and the Europa League. However, his Barca teammate Paul Kubasi has been left out after the 17-year-old suffered a facial injury in their Champions League game against Red Star Belgrade, with Athletic Bilbao centre-back Aitor Paredes being named in his place. French Interior Minister has said that the Nations League football match between France and Israel will go ahead as planned in Paris next week, despite the clashes that erupted in Amsterdam following a game between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Ajax. The game at the Stade de France on Thursday has been identified as a potential flashpoint, but the French Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau said France would not back down. The minister also said he had asked the Paris police to take the necessary security measures for the match. Violence flared in Amsterdam after a Europa League match on Thursday between Ajax and Maccabi Tel Aviv. Israeli, Dutch and European leaders on Friday condemned anti-Semitic clashes and Israel sent rescue planes for its citizens.
Ce qui s'est passé à Amsterdam, c'est extrêmement grave. C'est un antisémitisme totalement désinhibé et c'est le retour du mal absolu qu'il nous faut impérativement combattre. Pour ce qui concerne le match du 14 novembre prochain, ça fait des semaines qu'avec le préfet de police de Paris, Laurent Nunez, nous y travaillons. Nous avons étudié les deux possibilités, Parc des Princes ou Stade de France. Il se fera au Stade de France, parce que la préfecture de police m'a confirmé qu'elle était en mesure d'assurer la sécurité à l'intérieur, mais aussi et surtout, on le voit bien avec Amsterdam, à l'extérieur. Et je pense que pour une raison symbolique, j'y tiens aussi, parce qu'on ne doit pas renoncer, on ne doit pas reculer, on ne doit rien lâcher.
And that's a wrap on Sports Update. I am Udoka Njoku.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile. Unlimited.
Tonight on Entertainment News, the long-awaited full-length collaboration between Don Jazzy and Johnny Drill is finally on the horizon, and fans couldn't be more excited. Over the years, the two have worked together on several hit tracks, each time delivering a unique sound that has resonated deeply with Nigerian music lovers. Their chemistry and musical synergy have earned them a reputation as one of the most powerful duos in the industry. Now, they are set to release the highly anticipated EP, Had Guy Confessions, which has been generating significant buzz in the lead-up to the release. Johnny Drill took to his Twitter to confirm that the EP will drop on November 13th, much to the delight of fans. With their previous collaborations already showing great promise, expectations for the project are high. Had Guy Confessions promises to showcase the best of both artists, blending Johnny Drill's signature style with Don Jazzy's production prowess. Fans are eagerly awaiting the release, which is sure to be one of the standout music events of the year. Plies has filed a lawsuit against Megan Thee Stallion, Gorilla, Cardi B, and Soulja Boy, accusing them of infringing on his 2008 track Me and My Goons. The lawsuit claims that the beat from the song was used without permission, and his attorney, Walter Mosley, insists that the timing of the suits right after the election is purely coincidental. The case centers around the beat, which Plies alleges was first used by Soulja Boy in his 2010 hit Pretty Boy Swag, and later incorporated into Megan and Gorilla's 2023 track Wannabe, before Cardi B joined the remix. The lawsuit has sparked backlash, with Megan's producer, Lil Ju Made That Beat, defending the use of the sample as legitimate, and some fans pointing out that Plies' track may have borrowed from Lil Wayne's 2007 hit My Doogie. Mosley argues that the legal action stems from a good faith agreement with Soulja Boy that has since expired, and that Megan's success with the beat complicated matters. While some fans have accused Plies of being petty, especially giving his past support for Kamala Harris, Mosley maintains that the lawsuit has been in works for months and that a capable legal team is handling the case. That's all on Entertainment Tonight.
And that's all tonight. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that flight data recorder of helicopter that crashed off the coast of Bonny in Rivers State has been recovered. We also told you that the NLC backs NUPENG's nationwide strike threat over military's interference in oil rig dispute. Political parties in Ondo State signed peace accord ahead of next week's governorship poll. And finally, we told you that Duma Boko sworn in as Botswana's president after historic win. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dakbo Adigboye. Good night.